have coached for nearly 3 decades, and I've been very fortunate where I have coached thousands of student athletes. And I have garnered a lot of championship wins. But those victories pale in comparison to the unexpected and heartfelt messages that I receive from my student athletes long after they've hung up their spikes and have run their last race for me. Some years ago, I received one particular email. It was from a young lady, and it beautifully described the power of sports. And this is why I think that the power of sports can change lives over and over again. And this particular email came from a young lady who ran for me in high school named Abby. And if I can, I would love to share a portion of this email with you. Coach Dunham, I want to thank you for all the tough workouts and encouraging pep talks in high school. I struggled and had some dark moments. I had some dark moments in college, but I would often reflect on accomplishing those workouts and excelling in my most challenging races. During my time on the team, I learned grit and resilience, and those lessons continue to guide me through life. Just as I push myself to be great on the track, I am now driven to excel in my career and with my family. I learned that unwavering resolve, and I have applied those lessons to every facet of life. Those dark moments, those challenging moments, Abby is referring to her time that she spent at Princeton University. She's also referring to those times that she spent during her tenure at Emory Medical School. And just like Abby, I had so many athletes that have sent me letters, emails, come back to visit, and they're echoing the same sentiments that sports have changed and have positively impacted their lives. And I have seen the power of sports change lives over and over again, and this is what keeps me in the game as a coach. And I truly believe that sports are so magical that they have that type of power. And you don't even have to be an athlete to totally understand the power of sports. 17 million people watched the NCAA finals. 124 million tuned in to watch the Super Bowl. 1.1 billion watched the Women's World Cup. 3 billion the last Summer Olympics. And then 3.5 billion tuned in to watch the Tour de France. And people tune in because they want to be a part of this tumultuous ride. They want to be a part of that championship team, and they want to see and feel, and they want to be a part of it as they're in pursuit of that victory. And just like Abby, our kids can benefit from positive and structured sports. They can grow from those types of structured atmospheres. And the key thing is that those types of positive and structured programs can help us to build champions in life. And those champions in life will become change makers. They will become change makers for their families. They will become change makers for their community. And they will become change makers in our society. So just like Abby, champions are made, not born. And so there's so many opportunities for our kids to learn some valuable life lessons through sports. Some of those lessons, goal setting, how to go after those goals, allows you to know that mistakes are okay and you can grow from those mistakes. And my favorite, it teaches you how to work well with others. And we certainly need more of that in this world. But we're ruining the game. And it's so unfortunate that we're robbing our kids of opportunities to fully grow and develop through sports. There's such a focus right now on the score, the results being plastered on the scoreboard. There's such a focus on making mistakes. Our kids are afraid to fail. They're afraid to take risks. And then we dangle all these extrinsic rewards and awards. And we need to be teaching our kids how to be intrinsically motivated. And so those things aren't happening. Youth sports have become a multi-billion-dollar industry, and it has become a very stressful business for our youth. And statistics shows, the staggering statistic is 70% of youth athletes will drop out of sports by the age of 13. That's over 30 million youth athletes robbed of the opportunity to fully grow and develop through our sports. We are missing an opportunity to develop those kids and cultivate those kids with those necessary life lessons through structured and positive sports programs. But we must change the game. And so, how do we change the game? We have to keep kids playing. We have to keep kids on the court, on the field, and in structured programs. If you ever ask a kid why they play a sport, and if you ever ask a kid why they dropped out of a sport, the answer is the same: fun. When they're having fun, they're going to stay in it longer. When they're no longer having fun, see ya. That's it for them. And they drop out. So we have to make sure that we continue to have fun in structured programs for our kids. And so this was the impetus of my wife and I starting an organization, Kids Elite Sports. And our motto is a ball of fun for everyone. We get it, that if a kid is having fun, they're gonna love sports more, they're gonna have an appreciation more for it, and they're gonna stay in it longer. So being a kid equals having fun. So let's keep our kids in sports. But we also have been guilty of squeezing the fun out of sports. And I get a lot of questions, what's happening? How are we squeezing the fun out? Well, the American Academy of Pediatrics sums it up best. We are over-professionalizing sports. It's too intense. It's not appropriate for the kids' age development, not appropriate for their interest development, and we're giving them more games. It becomes more intense practices. It becomes more practices. And burnout happens mentally and physically, and it goes on and on. And so kids can't benefit if they don't stay in it. And so it is up to us to make sure that we are keeping our kids in it at the appropriate push and progression for their developmental and ability levels. And the second way that we can continue to change the game, we have to develop this mindset that it's not all about me. In this world, that's what it teaches us. Unfortunately, it's about that superstar, it's about me, and we have to teach them the concept of we is greater than me. And we can learn a lot from the geese. The geese have figured it out. If we stay together, if we fly together, if we draft off of one another, we're going to get to our destination. We're going to get to our destination faster, and we're going to get to our destination safer. And so I've had quite a few teams that were like the geese, and I've seen some special and magical moments as a result of that. One particular story I would love to share is I had a group of young ladies. We were at the Penn Relays Carnival. And if anyone knows anything about the Penn Relays, it is the Super Bowl of high school track and field. It is the Stanley Cup. It's the World Series. And we're going against the dominant Jamaicans in front of a crowd of 40,000 spectators. One side, USA. The other side, Jamaica. And it was another magical moment. These girls, they went out there and they ran for one another and they ran their hearts out and they had sacrificed for each other all season. You can see that they were more concerned about their teammates than themselves. And it all paid off, where these young ladies went on to defeat the Jamaicans, becoming a David versus Goliath story, and it ended up changing the entire trajectory of their life. Not because of the win, but because of the journey that they had with one another. And we need more of those journeys in life. Sports teaches us if we stay together and we do things together, that ordinary people can do extraordinary things. Kids learn at a very early age that there's going to be challenges. I've dealt with a lot of challenges personally, and we learn that early. And how we learn that and how we deal with that is going to be a big difference maker. There's two people when adversity, types of people when adversity hits. And it's the person that responds and bounces back and gets thicker skin. And then it's the person who crumbles under the pressure and hide underneath a rock. And it is sports that teaches us in so many moments, when the referee makes a bad call, understanding how to move past that, how to not react to that, but to get tougher, to make a better next play. What if your star athlete gets hurt? Then it's time for someone else to lead. Or if you deal with an illness or a sickness right before the championships, how do you respond to that? And so we have to continue to have our kids becoming more resilient. There was a very painful moment for myself, and I wrote about it in my memoir, Running Against the Odds. It's one of my favorite chapters, More Than a Ribbon. I ran cross country, and this was my junior year in high school. Now, you're looking at me, that was some decades ago, almost 100 pounds ago, but I was a fairly good cross-country runner. And there was this one particular meet in competition where I wanted to be in the top 10, over 300 runners. And if you're in the top 10, you get a chance to sit in these big, lavish chairs. You get these huge medallions. And I knew my name was on one of those medals. I ran tons of miles. I was at every practice. I thought I did everything right. Eventually, the gun goes off. There's 300 plus runners, and it's like a stampede across the field. And I'm in there, and I'm trying to settle in and get nice and relaxed. And I did just that with the lead pack. It's a 3.1 mile race. Mile number 1, I'm right where I need to be. Top 20, I'll outkick 10 to 15 runners. And then the second mile comes, and my airways become a little constricted. My legs started to get a little heavy, and that lactic acid started to kick in a lot earlier than I anticipated. And so, needless to say, by mile number 3, as hard as I tried, I faded and faded and faded and faded until I crossed the line, and I ended up with a 75th place ribbon. I went from top 10 to a participation ribbon. I was so dejected. I was so disappointed. And it was my coach that taught me either I'm going to do something about this disappointment and get a reward from it later, or I'm going to sulk in my misery. And he made it clear to me that the sun will come up and you're going to get more opportunities. And so I ended up taking that ribbon, and I hung that ribbon next to my light switch. And so every single day, I looked at that ribbon, and that ribbon made me sick, but it also motivated me. And I want to thank my coach and his positive and structured program that gave me the opportunity to develop that resilience. And I must say that it wasn't about becoming a better runner. It was a life lesson that I have carried with me since that day. And so let's change the game by teaching our kids how to respond to tough times, to become more resilient, and to develop that grit for life. So just like with Abby, we are all going to deal with so many challenges in life. There's going to be times we're going to fall flat on our faces, and there's just going to be times where it is going to be tough. But it is through sports that we can cultivate this environment for our kids. And we have to do it in a manner that we keep it fun for them, that we get them to understand they have to work well with others, and we also have to teach them to respond and to deal with adversity. If we do that, our kids will be change makers for life, they will be champions for life, and they will make a difference with their leadership and their families, and they will be the change makers that we so desperately need in this world.